What would you do if a homeless boy stopped you on the street, begging for help? Most people would walk away. But what happens when Keanu Reeves, yes, the Keanu Reeves, decides to step in? What unfolds is a journey filled with heartbreak, courage, and a shocking twist that changes everything. Stay tuned, because this is one story you'll never forget. Before we dive into this unforgettable story, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more incredible stories that will touch your heart and inspire you to make a difference. The city was alive, its heart pulsing through the crowded streets. Neon signs flickered above towering skyscrapers, and the distant hum of traffic blended with the chatter of pedestrians. Amid the chaos, a sleek black sedan pulled up in front of a posh downtown hotel. From the passenger door emerged Keanu Reeves, exuding a quiet, unstated charm in his casual yet polished attire. Adjusting his sunglasses, he nodded to his chauffeur, Harris, a composed middle-aged man who had been with him for years. "Take your time, sir," Harris said, holding the door open. Keanu offered a small smile. "Just a moment. I like to soak it all in." The sidewalks were bustling with people in a rush to get somewhere, heads down, phones out, or hands gripping shopping bags. But Keanu wasn't in a hurry. He took a deep breath, appreciating the symphony of urban life. He was about to step into the hotel when a sharp tug on his sleeve stopped him mid-step. Turning, he found himself looking down at a boy, no older than 9, dressed in tattered clothes. The boy's bare feet were grimy from the city streets, and his dark hair was disheveled. What struck Keanu most, however, were the boy's eyes, wide, desperate, and pleading. "Please, sir," the boy whispered, his voice trembling but firm. "I need your help." Keanu crouched to the boy's level, his voice calm and steady. "What's your name, kid?" "Really?" the boy replied, glancing nervously over his shoulder as though he was being followed. His small hands clutched the edge of Keanu's sleeve tightly, as if letting go would mean losing everything. Before Keanu could ask more, a loud, angry voice rang out from behind. "Hey, you little thief! Get back here!" Say. A burly man in a stained apron stormed toward them, his face flushed with anger. Eli flinched, moving closer to Keanu, his grip tightening. Instinctively, Keanu stood and positioned himself between Eli and the approaching man. "Is there a problem?" Keanu asked, his tone calm yet authoritative. The man stopped abruptly, his expression shifting from rage to awkward recognition. "Ah, Mr. Reeves," he stammered, his voice softening. "That boy's been hanging around my store all week, probably up to no good." Keanu tilted his head slightly. "Has he stolen anything?" "Well, no, but he scares my customers. Always lurking." Keanu looked over his shoulder at Eli, who was staring at the ground, his small frame trembling. "Sounds like you're judging someone without proof," Keanu said. "Maybe there's a reason he's there." The man muttered under his breath and shuffled away, visibly embarrassed. Turning back to Eli, Keanu crouched again. "Why were you at his store, Eli? Are you hungry?" Eli hesitated, his lips quivering before he whispered, "My sister, she's sick. I was trying to find food for her." Keanu's expression softened, but there was a spark of determination in his eyes. "Where's your sister now?" Eli hesitated, then gestured toward an alleyway a few blocks away. "She's hiding. I didn't know what else to do." Keanu stood, offering his hand. "Let's go see her." Eli led Keanu through the winding streets, past honking cars and hurried passers-by. The bustling city seemed to fade as they turned into a narrow alley, its dim lighting casting long shadows against the brick walls. At the far end, huddled in a corner, sat a girl no older than 6. She was wrapped in a threadbare blanket, her frail body leaning against the wall for support. Eli rushed to her side, kneeling beside her and taking her hand. "Lisa," he said softly, "it's okay. I brought someone who can help." Lisa's hollow eyes met Keanu's. She was pale, her small frame trembling with each shallow breath. Clutching a small tattered notebook to her chest, she tried to sit up straighter but winced from the effort. Keanu crouched beside her, his voice gentle. "Hey, Lisa, I'm Keanu. You're safe now. We're going to get you some help." Lisa hesitated, her gaze flicking to Eli for reassurance. Slowly, she nodded, her lips barely moving. "Okay." Keanu pulled out his phone and dialed quickly. "Harris, bring the car around. We're heading to the children's hospital." Moments later, the sleek sedan pulled up to the alley. Harris stepped out, his calm demeanor slipping into concern as he saw the children. "Sir? Help me get them inside," Keanu said firmly. Harris nodded, assisting Eli and Lisa into the car. Inside, Lisa leaned against Eli, her head resting on his shoulder. Keanu sat across from them, his eyes scanning Lisa's weak frame. "How long has she been sick?" he asked Eli. "Months," Eli admitted, his voice small. "I've been trying to find food and medicine, but it's hard." Keanu's jaw tightened. "You've done more than anyone could ask, Eli. Let me take it from here." The car sped through the bustling city streets, its tinted windows shielding Eli and Lisa from the chaos outside. Keanu watched the siblings closely, his heart heavy. Lisa leaned weakly against Eli, her pale face barely visible beneath her tangled hair. Eli clung to her protectively, his thin arms wrapped around her as though shielding her from an invisible threat. "You're doing great, Lisa," Keanu said gently. "We'll be at the hospital soon." Lisa gave a faint nod, her eyes fluttering closed. Eli glanced at Keanu, his expression a mix of fear and gratitude. Is she going to be okay?" Keanu leaned forward, his voice steady. "We'll make sure she gets the best care. You've been so strong for her, Eli. She's lucky to have you." Eli blinked rapidly as if trying to hold back tears. "Mama used to say that too," he whispered. Before she left." Keanu didn't press further, but the weight of Eli's words stayed with him. At the hospital, Keanu carried Lisa inside while Harris helped guide Eli. The bright, sterile environment of the emergency room was a stark contrast to the grimy alley where Keanu had found them. Nurses and doctors moved efficiently, their voices blending into a steady hum of urgency. Keanu approached the front desk. "This little girl needs immediate attention," he said, his voice calm but firm. "She's weak, and she's been sick for months." The nurse behind the desk glanced at Lisa and then at Eli, her expression softening. "We'll get her admitted right away," she said, pulling out a clipboard. "Do you have guardianship papers or any form of consent?" Keanu's jaw tightened. "She doesn't have a guardian right now. I'll take responsibility for her care." The nurse hesitated, her gaze flicking between Keanu and the children. "Legally, we'll need—" "I'll sign whatever you need," Keanu interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Just make sure she gets the help she needs." The nurse nodded and signaled to an orderly, who wheeled over a gurney. "We'll take it from here." As the staff wheeled Lisa away, Eli began to follow, but a nurse gently stopped him. "You'll have to wait here for now," she said softly. Keanu's face crumpled and he turned to Keanu, his eyes pleading. "I don't want to leave her." Keanu knelt beside him. "She's in good hands, Eli. Let them help her. We'll stay right here, okay?" Eli hesitated, then nodded, his small hand gripping Keanu's tightly. Hours passed in the waiting room. Keanu sat with Eli, his arm around the boy's shoulders, offering quiet reassurance. The rhythmic ticking of the wall clock and the occasional announcement over the intercom filled the silence. Finally, a doctor approached, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. She introduced herself as Dr. Bennett. "Mr. Reeves? I'm the attending physician for Lisa." Keanu stood, his expression steady but filled with concern. "How is she?" Dr. Bennett sighed, glancing briefly at Eli before continuing. "Lisa is stable for now, but her condition is critical. Based on the initial tests, she appears to have advanced leukemia. She'll need immediate treatment, starting with a blood transfusion, followed by chemotherapy." Keanu's stomach sank, but he maintained his composure. "What are her chances?" "With treatment, there's hope," Dr. Bennett said, "but it's going to be a long, difficult road. Does she have any family who can make medical decisions?" Keanu shook his head. "Her brother is the only family she has left. I'll take responsibility for her care. Whatever she needs, I'll make sure she gets it." Dr. Bennett nodded, her respect evident. "We'll begin treatment immediately. Thank you for stepping up for her." After Dr. Bennett left, Keanu returned to the waiting room to find Eli curled up on one of the chairs, his knees drawn to his chest. Keanu sat beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. He's gonna get the help she needs, Eli, Keanu said gently. Ellie looked up, his eyes red from crying. I tried to help her, he said, his voice breaking. I really tried, but I couldn't do enough. Mama told me to take care of her before she got sick. I promised her. Keanu felt a pang in his chest. You've done more than anyone could ask, Eli. You've kept her safe, and you've been there for her when she needed you most. Eli hesitated, then whispered, Do you think Mama would be proud? She'd be proud of anything. Keanu nodded, his voice steady. I know she would be. And now it's my turn to help you both. Eli leaned into Keanu's side, his small frame trembling. Thank you, he whispered. As the hours stretched into the evening, Keanu's phone buzzed with a message from Harris, who had stayed in the car outside. 2 men have been circling the parking lot. They look familiar. Might be the same ones who followed us earlier. Keanu's brow furrowed. He recalled the angry shopkeeper's accusations and the fear in Eli's eyes when he'd first approached him. Something wasn't adding up. I'll be right back, Keanu said to Eli. Stay here. Outside, the hospital parking lot was dimly lit, the orange glow of the streetlights casting long shadows. Harris gestured subtly toward a corner where 2 men stood, their postures tense and their eyes scanning the area. Keanu recognized one of them, the man from the orphanage. His jaw tightened. These weren't just random bystanders, they were connected to the children's past. Keanu approached calmly, his presence commanding but non-threatening. Can I help you? The shorter of the 2 men shifted uncomfortably. We're just passing through, he said. Passing through. Really? Keanu said, his tone casual but sharp. Because you've been following us since this afternoon. The taller man smirked. You don't know what you're getting into, Mr. Reeves. Best to stay out of it. Keanu's gaze didn't waver. If you're here to threaten those kids, you've already lost. Now, you can walk away, or I can call the police. Your choice. The men exchanged a glance, their bravado faltering. Without another word, they retreated into the shadows, disappearing down the street. Keanu watched them go, a sense of unease settling over him. This wasn't over. Back inside the hospital, Keanu found Eli pacing nervously in the waiting room. The boy's small frame seemed even smaller under the harsh fluorescent lights. Are they gone? Eli asked quietly, his voice trembling. Keanu knelt to meet his eyes, his tone steady. Yes, but I need you to tell me something, Eli. Who are they? Why are they following us? Eli hesitated, his gaze darting toward the floor. They're from the orphanage, he mumbled. Keanu frowned. The orphanage? Why would they be after you? Ellie's voice wavered as he continued. They're not good people. They take money that's supposed to help us. When I told them I'd tell someone, they got mad. They said they'd make me and Lisa leave. Keanu's jaw tightened. And that's why you ran? Eli nodded, tears brimming in his eyes. They don't care about us. They just want to keep everything for themselves. Keanu placed a reassuring hand on Eli's shoulder. You don't have to worry about them anymore. I'll make sure you and Lisa are safe, and I'll make sure they're held accountable. As the night wore on, Keanu made a series of phone calls. His first was to Ms. Clarice Hawthorne, the director of Child Services, a composed woman with a reputation for fighting tirelessly for children's rights. Murphy, I'm looking for a Reeves, he began. I need to report serious misconduct at an orphanage. 2 children I've been helping have spoken about financial exploitation and threats. There was a pause on the other end before Miss Hawthorne responded. Mr. Reeves, we've had complaints about several facilities, but without concrete evidence it's difficult to act. Can you provide specifics? Keanu exhaled, his voice firm. I can bring you the children's testimony and gather more evidence if needed. These kids are scared, but they're willing to speak up. That would be a start, Ms. Hawthorne said. If you can connect us with them and help us secure more proof, we can open a formal investigation. I'll handle it, Keanu replied. These kids deserve justice. The next morning, Keanu sat beside Lisa's hospital bed as she stirred awake. Her face was still pale, but there was a flicker of light in her eyes. She clutched the compass Keanu had given her the night before, her fingers tracing its edges. Did you sleep well, brave explorer? Keanu asked, his voice soft. Lisa nodded weakly. Eli told me you made the bad men go away. Keanu smiled. They won't bother you anymore. You're safe now. Lisa glanced at her notebook, which rested on the bedside table. Do you think I can finish my list now? Keanu picked up the notebook, carefully flipping through its crinkled pages. The list was simple but poignant. Medicine for me. Food for Eli. A doctor for Mama. You've already crossed some things off, Keanu said, his voice warm. Now it's time to add new dreams. What do you want to do when you're feeling better? Lisa thought for a moment before whispering, I want to go to school. And I want Eli to have a real home. Keanu's chest tightened at her words. We'll make that happen, Lisa. I promise. Later that day, Keanu drove to the orphanage with Ms. Hawthorne and a team from Child Services. The building stood at the end of a desolate street, its facade cracked and weathered. Children lingered in the yard, their clothes worn and their faces shadowed with mistrust. The director of the orphanage, a wiry man with a slick demeanor, greeted them at the gate. Mr. Reeves, he said, feigning politeness, what brings someone like you to our humble facility? Keanu's expression didn't waver. I'm here to see the conditions these children are living in. The man's smile faltered. We run a tight ship here. Everything's in order. Mrs. Hawthorne stepped forward, holding up a warrant. We have legal authority to inspect the premises and review your records. Please step aside. The director hesitated, his eyes narrowing. This is highly irregular. It's not a request, Miss Hawthorne said firmly. As the team moved through the orphanage, they documented appalling conditions: damp walls, insufficient food supplies, and a lack of medical care. Keanu knelt beside a young boy sitting in the corner, his eyes wide with fear. Hey there, Keanu said gently. What's your name? Tell me, the boy whispered. It's okay, Tommy, Keanu reassured him. We're here to help. Can you tell me if anyone's been mean to you? Tommy hesitated before nodding. The big men, they take money that's supposed to get us new clothes, and if we say anything, they yell at us. Keanu's fists clenched, but his voice remained calm. You're very brave, Tommy. Thank you for telling me. As the investigation unfolded, the two men from the parking lot appeared at the orphanage's gate. They exchanged tense glances before stepping inside, their confidence faltering when they saw Keanu and the Child Services team. What's going on here? One of them demanded. We're conducting an investigation, Ms. Hawthorne replied coolly. The taller man sneered. You've got no proof. These kids are just trying to get attention. Keanu stepped forward, his calm demeanor laced with quiet authority. The only attention you're getting is from law enforcement. Walk away now, or I'll make sure you leave in cuffs. The men glared but retreated, knowing they were outmatched. Over the following weeks, the evidence gathered at the orphanage led to the arrests of the administrators, including the two men. The children were relocated to safer facilities, and Keanu worked tirelessly with Ms. Hawthorne to ensure they received medical care, counseling, and education. In addition, Keanu used his resources to fund the construction of a new orphanage, one designed to provide not just shelter, but a true home for the children. He named it Hope Haven, inspired by Lisa's wish for a real home for her and Eli. The groundbreaking ceremony for Hope Haven was more than just the start of a building project. It was a symbol of renewal and justice. Keanu stood beside Ms. Hawthorne, architects, and community leaders on a patch of land surrounded by tall oak trees. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered, and a group of children, including Eli and Lisa, watched from the front row, their faces filled with curiosity and hope. Keanu addressed the crowd, his voice steady but filled with emotion. This isn't just a building, it's a promise to every child who has ever felt forgotten, unseen, or unloved. Hope Haven will be more than a roof over their heads. It will be a place where they can heal, grow, and dream again. As applause echoed, Keanu turned to Eli and Lisa. He handed Eli a small shovel, the metal gleaming in the sunlight. You ready to start the first dig, Commander Eli? Eli grinned, his cheeks flushing with pride. Let's do it, Captain Keanu. With the first symbolic shovels of dirt overturned, the project officially began. Back at the hospital, Lisa's treatment continued. Chemotherapy sessions left her weak and nauseous, but she faced each one with quiet bravery. Keanu visited her daily, often bringing books, puzzles, or small tokens to lift her spirits. One afternoon, he arrived with a canvas and a set of watercolors. "Today we're going to paint something," Keanu announced as he set up the supplies. Lisa, propped up on pillows, tilted her head curiously. "What should we paint?" Keanu thought for a moment before replying, "How about what Hope Haven will look like when it's finished?" Lisa's eyes lit up. "With a playground and swings? And don't forget the treehouse," Keanu added with a grin. As Lisa painted, her strokes shaky but determined, she began to share memories of her mother, how she used to sing lullabies and tell bedtime stories. Keanu listened intently, offering gentle encouragement as Lisa's voice wavered. "She always told me to be brave," Lisa said softly, dipping her brush into blue paint. "Even when I was scared." "You're one of the bravest people I've ever met," Keanu said sincerely. "Your mom would be so proud of you." Lisa smiled faintly and held up her finished painting. It was a colorful, dreamlike version of Hope Haven, complete with flowers, swings, and a golden sun shining above. "It's beautiful," Keanu said, "just like the real thing will be." As construction on Hope Haven progressed, Ellie became a constant presence on the site. He eagerly watched the workers, occasionally helping them carry light tools or handing out water bottles. The foreman, a burly man with a kind smile, took a liking to him and started teaching him small tasks. One day, as Eli watched a crane lift a beam into place, Keanu approached him. "You've been working hard, Commander. Thinking about becoming an engineer?" Eli laughed. "Maybe, but I just want to make sure it's perfect for Lisa." Keanu ruffled his hair. "It's already perfect, because you're helping make it happen." Eli's expression turned serious. "Do you think Lisa will ever feel better enough to play in the treehouse?" Keanu crouched beside him. "I think with all the love and care she's getting, she'll be climbing that treehouse in no time. And when she does, you'll be right there with her." As Hope Haven neared completion, Keanu received a call from Ms. Hawthorne. Her voice was tense. "Mr. Reeves, I thought you should know. 2 of the men involved in the orphanage's corruption case were released on bail yesterday." Keanu's stomach tightened. "Do you think they'll try to retaliate?" "It's hard to say," Ms. Hawthorne admitted. "But I wanted to warn you. The children and the new facility could be targets." Keanu's protective instincts kicked in immediately. "I'll make sure security is increased at both the hospital and the site. They're not going to harm these kids." That evening, Keanu met with a private security firm to arrange additional protection for Lisa, Eli, and the construction site. He also spoke to Harris, who had become more than just a chauffeur over the years. "Keep an eye out, Harris. If you see anything suspicious, let me know immediately." "You've got it, sir," Harris replied, his tone serious. One quiet night, as Lisa slept peacefully after a particularly tough treatment, Keanu sat alone in the hospital's family lounge. The lights were dim, and the hum of vending machines filled the silence. He stared at a cup of untouched coffee in his hands, lost in thought. Mrs. Hawthorne joined him, her expression soft. "You've done so much for these kids, Mr. Reeves, but I can't help wondering, why? What drives you to go this far?" Keanu hesitated before speaking, his voice low. "When I was younger, I lost someone very close to me. There were days when I felt completely lost, like no one saw me, like I didn't matter. But then someone reached out. It wasn't much, just a small act of kindness, but it made me believe that maybe I could get through it." He looked up, his eyes shadowed with emotion. "Lisa and Eli deserve to feel seen. They deserve to know they matter, and if I can give them that, even for a moment, then it's worth it." Mrs. Hawthorne nodded, her respect deepening. "You're making a difference, Keanu, not just for them, but for everyone who sees what you're doing." Months later, Hope Haven stood proudly as a beacon of hope. The building was vibrant and welcoming, with colorful murals painted by local artists and a playground surrounded by blooming flowers. On the day of the grand opening, children filled the yard, their laughter echoing in the crisp autumn air. Lisa, now stronger and healthier, stood beside Eli and Keanu as the crowd gathered for the ribbon cutting. She held the oversized scissors with both hands, her face glowing with excitement. "Ready, Captain?" Keanu asked with a grin. Lisa giggled. "Ready?" With a snip, the ribbon fell, and the crowd erupted into cheers. Eli grabbed Lisa's hand and pulled her toward the swings, their laughter ringing out as they ran. Keanu watched them with a sense of profound fulfillment. "This is just the beginning," Miss Hawthorne said beside him. Keanu nodded. "And it's a beginning worth fighting for." But their story doesn't have to end here. Lisa's bravery reminds us of the strength it takes to face life's challenges, and Keanu's kindness shows how one person's actions can change countless lives. Now it's your turn to make a difference. Around the world, millions of children like Lisa need help. Children facing illness, poverty, and unimaginable hardship. You can be their hero. Still, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more incredible stories that will touch your heart and inspire you to make a difference. I'm Clay Partman.